Um, okay, yeah, I just came off of 3 days of inmaning, which always fires me up.
Yep.
So that was good stuff, really good stuff. Yeah, so if you want to, like, I am going to record this and I'll share it with you. So if you'll have access to the video and the audio, so you can do whatever you want with it. But you want to make sure you look good. So make sure you've got light shining on your face as much as possible. So if you can point your face to a window or get a light in front of you. Do you have a portable light?
Is that good, or do you want something else?
It's okay. No, I'm just saying, like, do you have one of these, like a ring light or anything like that?
Hold on.
Come on, I mean, if you've got it, use it.
All right. I'm feeling it.
You're a little out of range. There we go.
Okay. I just told my father, I said, hey, I'm taking this light to make me look better. He says, you're going to need a bigger light. So,
thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Hold on. Just bear with me. Katie.
Listen,
I'm glad we're not live.
Oh, God.
Imagine. All right. This would be a shit show. Well, I've got to tell you, it's a bright light.
It is a bright light. You can back it up if it's too much, or shine it from the side. There we go. That's better. You're better lit now. Yeah, that's good. And like, if you really want to talk about, like, I know you like to nerd out and geek out on stuff. So if you really want to optimize, if you can elevate your computer camera so it's slightly above eye level, like even like pick the machine up. Oops. Is the machine on the table right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So like, people use all kinds of, I use a giant, like a basket. I've got mine on. I've seen people use their printer, stacks of books. I had a bunch of, what else did I use? Scrap paper.
Oh, God.
Cookbooks. Cookbooks are handy.
Is that better?
That's good.
You
just want to look like a pro, that's all. She says in her sweatshirt.
How is that?
That's good. That is pro level. Yeah. Now we're talking. All right. So yeah. So have you listened to anything on the podcast? Do you have any idea what you're about to get into?
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right. So I am looking for you to, you don't totally drop your drawers, but like, the idea here is that we've got really successful people who are talking about what it really takes to personally to get and stay successful. And again, particularly you in particular, like, because people are like, well, nobody has the trouble that I have. Nobody, like, you don't understand what it's like to have this or that. And it's like, that's true. Like, I don't understand what your problem is, but we all have them. And, life is going to do these things to you. And it's what you do with that. It's whether you define yourself by that. I'm the guy who, or I'm the guy who, and that's what I think you've done so well. And that's sort of why I picked you. You can go anywhere you want with that. And you can go somewhere else if you want. If you just have that idea in your head, like, what will serve people the best? I want people to come off of this and being like fired up, like, I can handle this. I can do this. All right. Okay. Awesome. All right. We still run the risk of barking dogs and things like that, but this is, hashtag pandemic.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
Speaking of barking dogs, there's one right now.
Yes.
But I've got a little buzzer.
Oh, I have one of those too. And that's the other reason that headphones are good, because if my dog hears your dog, we're gonna have
Oh
a
my
problem.
God. Good
Yeah.
God. It's Katie and Evan's virtual doggy daycare. Zap.
Oh God. All right. So I'm gonna launch in with my intro. I'm gonna pull some things off of your bio.
Yep.
And then segue into why I picked you and welcome you, and really just I will follow basically what we've got for the guts. And then when we feel like it's wound down, these end up less than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere 30-40 minutes seems to be like the 45 even the sweet spot.
We're going organic, Katie. Whatever happens.
Okay, my friend. All right. So let me take a quick look here, and here we go. Welcome to the Happiest Person in Real Estate podcast. I am your host, Katie Clancy, the happiest person in real estate. This week on the Happiest Person in Real Estate, we are chatting with my friend and colleague, Evan Walsh. We are also Zooming, which is something new for me with this podcast. Clearly, I am dressed for a podcast, but I'm excited to do this with Evan. He is a good friend. He's a great professional, and I am really excited to hear from him. Evan, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I am very good. Now, before we actually jump right into talking about why you're here and what we're going to talk about, I need to brag on you a little bit.
Okay, go right ahead.
I don't invite slouches onto this podcast, just the best people. So, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that you've done and some of your achievements, which are only half of the story. And that's kind of why I want you on here. But let's just start. So Evan is named one of the best agents in America by Wall Street Journal's Real Trends list. He designed, owns, and operates a top 5 ranked luxury real estate site by Google for Massachusetts. He's the former chairman of the Greater Boston Association of Realtors Communications Committee. He is a William Ravis Luxury Marketing Advisory Committee. He's ranked top 100 social media marketing agents worldwide, and he has been in the William Ravis Chairman's Elite Club from 2007 to present, and ranks in the top 10 company-wide, which is a pretty major achievement because our company Ravis is, we get some heavy hitters that so some really strong competition there that we are up against. So Evan works in Boston, and as many of you know, I'm down on the Cape, so we're not too far from each other. We cross-pollinate from time to time. So anyway, Evan, you're all that in a can of corn. Like, what is up with that? I brought you on here because, like I said, that's half of the story. But you're so much more than that. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, part of the thing is that people look at someone like you and they're like, oh, that must be great.
Yeah.
Nice for Evan.
Yeah.
You know, in this, he works in this shishi neighborhood and all these things that you have going for you.
Yeah.
But is that why you're so successful? Tell me a little bit more about your whole story.
I think, the interesting and fascinating thing with real estate is it doesn't matter what market you work in. You can be extremely successful no matter where you are, really. Sometimes the higher end deals are harder to kind of work on than the smaller ones. So, I kind of have this saying that I throw out there: big or small, we sell them all. And, it doesn't matter. So if you're able to get a big deal together, that's great. Looks good for the numbers. It's obviously great in the pocket. But it's the little deals that really matter in terms of kind of, filling space throughout the year, making sure that you're hitting your transaction numbers and stuff like that. So it really comes down to just, working full time, I think is probably the most important thing. Being dedicated and, having a plan that you can sort of implement day to day, week to week, month to month, and then year over year. Those are sort of the things I think that help to really breed success, no matter, who you are or what occupation you have. So that's kind of my philosophy.
I know. And you're one of the hardest workers. And you're you're like the Energizer Bunny. You're just like at it. You're whatever it is. You're like, bring it, let's
Bring it. That's
go. Like you're always, and you're almost always smiling, which people would often be like, well, yeah, Evan's one of the happiest guys I know. I mean, like his life is so good. I mean, look at his gorgeous little family, and he's got this family team that, you
yeah.
sort of inherited. Like, must be nice to be Evan Walsh. I'd be smiling too.
Yeah,
But
it's pretty good to be me. I'll tell. But I've had my own share of hardships. I was diagnosed with stage 3 bladder cancer back in 2017. That was a game changer. Obviously, sort of not really knowing what the future held for a period of time, and my focus at that time. I mean, you don't know if you're going to live or die, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And your only hope is that you live and that you're able to, be there for your family, et cetera. But, you're faced with this other sort of hurdle, which is, what if I'm not here, And so I had basically a limited amount of time to try and, get as much business together as I could, not knowing what the future held. Thankfully, I had some great surgeons and great medical, facilities here in Boston. And so here I am, and I'm able to, kind of take what I learned from that experience and put that into my everyday, which is like, you don't know what tomorrow is going to hold. So you got to give it your all today and hope that you're able to, reap the benefits of that tomorrow, next week, next month, et cetera. So
well, there's nothing like a cancer diagnosis to really get your priorities back in order, right? Like, mortality, hadn't considered that.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was in the hospital, there was a younger kid that was in there also, and I said, he had kind of let his diabetes kind of go really untreated. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, and here I am. I've got hoses hooked up. I'm like, I'm on these different machines. It was awful, and I said to the kid, being somewhat of a younger person myself, I said, you're only invincible until you're not. And that is the moment that everything changed for me. And I was like, I really need to focus on life today. And that's sort of, I think the most important thing that I took from that battle was, focus on today, whether it's life, whether it's work, and then build towards tomorrow. And that's sort of how you create this foundation, I think, of success. Anyway, that's sort of the advice I can give.
So, we really jumped right into, I'm guessing, the hardest thing that has ever come across your path,
Sure.
whether it's in life or in business. And I don't wish a cancer diagnosis on anybody. But the depth of that and the profound nature of that situation forced you to go deep, and then you came out twice as high just with your perspective, which is amazing. So wow, like, so that's, I don't want anybody to have to do that to go up that high. But one of the thing that I really admired about how you handled that is that you did take it as an opportunity. You took this adversity, this deep adversity, as an opportunity to literally seize the day. Mm-hmm. You've said that over and over, like, what do I need to do today? How much business can I get going today so that I can give a future to myself, my family, all this stuff? You really got busy right away. So I love the way you responded to that, and the way, what I call that in sort of my philosophy is composting that shizzle, because shizzle's coming into your life, boys and girls. Like, it might not be as bad as what you had to deal with, but it's coming. It's Eric Thomas, who is a inspirational guy who I really like. He says, you're always either in a storm, going into a storm, or coming out of one.
Right.
Like, that's just life. And when he first said that, it made me go, oh God, what a negative way to think of things. Like, I don't want that. I just want to be happy. I just want to, like, enjoy life. And when I finally realized, like it seems like you did, that, like, no, it's not that you're inviting trouble, but when trouble comes in, you know what to do with it. You know how to leverage it. So I think that's really interesting. I'm wondering if you can tell us about some of your more pedestrian struggles. Something that, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who have had, health struggles that would, can identify with what you're talking about. But I think a lot more people will connect with some of your more typical tough times and bad breaks and mistakes and things. So I'd love it if you would tell us about those.
So I had, it's funny that we're talking today because I'm just about to complete perhaps the second worst transaction of my real estate career. So,
sorry.
it's all right. At least you're not number one. So,
right.
Look, the thing with real estate is that you're dealing with different people, you're dealing with different personalities, you're dealing with business. And it's not as if you can control everything. We do our best to control what we can, and that's sort of to mitigate the amount of disruptions and risks and things that can happen. But you're always dealing with different people, and so that's the real challenge. Thankfully, it has been a really challenging process where my clients happen to be my friends. And, I've really had to try and manage the situation on the other end and sort of buffer them from a lot of that kind of negative BS that was happening on the other side. Because one, they don't need to know a lot of the stuff that's kind of going on.
They don't need to see how the sausage is made. Nope.
Exactly. Just trust that the people that are making the sausage know what they're doing,
Yeah.
And haven't lost a finger in the process. But anyway, it's just, you've got to be able to try and, I think taking a step back, being able to look at the big picture, and trying to process everything without getting caught up and wrapped up in it is probably the most important thing you can do as an agent or a professional. You've got to take it in, absorb it, and then sort of figure out how to recycle it, like you were saying, and then kind of feed it out sort of as it's as you think it should be, and that's the best way to handle it, I think.
So you're talking about a really messy, challenging, exhausting,
all of the above
transaction that someone else or I don't know about you, but when I was earlier in my career, those would really scare me. And I would either run and be like, just screw it, throw my hands up and be like, you know what, we're out, we're just not and like, that's not good for your client. Or be like, oh yeah, let's go, and like you jump in and you get in this ridiculous pissing contest with the other, you sucked into the drama, and it doesn't, it's not good for you. So you have this sort of career maturity to be able to see, like, this is a hard thing, this is a struggle, but remembering what your job is.
Right.
And your job is to take care of your clients in the best, regardless of who they are.
Right.
Not even especially because they're friends. Like, that makes it harder sometimes because it adds some layers. All right, so the cancer diagnosis, we've got the really, really hard transaction that makes you, honestly, I can't imagine there wasn't a moment during that where you're like, screw this, like, whatever, we'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think professionally speaking, it was my job to fix this, or well, not fix, but just manage the situation. The added stress of these folks being my best friends, and I'm trying to protect them as well. I'm going to protect all my clients, but there was something a little extra just because I've known this friend of mine since kindergarten. So it's family. So when friends like that and family are involved, it's like next level. So anyway, we managed it. We're at the table.
Are you when are you closing?
Like right now. So if the phone rings while we're on this call, that's not good. So no phone ring. Yeah. No, we're good.
Just shut it off. Good. That's what I do. No.
Yeah, we're good.
That's not. So now how are you going to leverage that? It's like, I really think that there's no struggle. You should not let any struggle go by without squeezing something out of it. Yeah. Like, if it's going to beat you up like that, if you're going to suffer, well, then you sure ought to come out with something. So what
Yes.
are you coming out? I don't know if you're far away from it yet, but what do you think you come out with from this one?
Well, I think the key is that there's always going to be a bad deal, right? There's always going to be a deal that tests your patience, it tests your stamina, it tests like everything that you have in you. But because this was the second worst deal of my life, the first one was the real test, right? So, but what that did was it prepared me for this one. So this one was the second worst because I had the experience from the first. So I was able to manage this one a little bit better. It's really taking something away that you can use for the next time you're in a situation like this that will inevitably reduce it. So it becomes, the second or third or fourth, or, it kind of falls down the line. But it also allows you to, puts you into a position where, some of the other deals that could get out of control or could turn into bigger problems, you're also able to kind of, manage those so they don't become bigger problems.
Well, because now you're like, you can smell it coming. You're like, ooh, 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 yep, this is what I might have done differently. I'm going to take a little sort of do some damage control, sort of prevention really there.
Absolutely. I think this as well as anybody. You have to take those experiences, learn from them, and then put them in your tool, whatever experience that is, put them in your tool belt so that you're able to kind of recall upon, what you did before. And that all comes from experience, just kind of doing the day to day. And, nobody likes those deals, but they happen. So
listen, nobody likes burpees either, but they make you stronger and more fit. So like, you kind of have to do it. And there's just no progress without a little bit of pain. That's just my philosophy. And if there's pain without progress, you wasted it.
That's it.
That's what I think. Okay, I want to ask you another question. So just from a general perspective, so we got into some real specifics of actual challenges that you have had to deal with. What do you think would be one of your biggest challenges in building your business? So if we're talking to a newer agent who feels like they're running, they just like, oh, I don't know if I can get over this. What were some of your challenges as you were growing your business that you have run into?
Well, do you mean from the personal, my personal approach, or from a team approach? Because they're two different things.
Yeah, you know what? Just riff on that. Why don't you? Well, I know I have some insights there. Why don't you jump into the team one?
Okay. I think so. The greatest thing about having a team is that you are a team, and you have other people that you can count on and rely on to help out and do different things. One of the areas I love the most is teaching and helping people kind of achieve success, and showing them how to deal with bad situations and make them good and things like that. So those are the things that I absolutely love. The challenge with team building is, again, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, perhaps different business philosophies, and different skill levels too. So, there's no right way to build a team. It's really just kind of like a synergy thing. You either connect or you don't, and it either works or it doesn't. It's you can have a formula for success, but if the personalities don't match, then it's not going to go anywhere.
Evan, you're dancing around the point. What happened?
Oh.
What went down?
Well,
what was the hard thing?
Well, listen, I'm an excellent dancer. But I think that the challenge is keeping people on the team and keeping them motivated. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Have you lost people?
We have, yeah, and it has been, it's been, I think, mostly due to either lack of experience, and it takes a lot of time on my end to kind of help build them up. So there needs to be some sort of, entry level, I don't know what the word is I'm trying to think, but if you're bringing people in, you kind of need to be at a certain level in order to kind of manage everything that goes into the day-to-day, and then be able to elevate from there. And I mean, it's not for everybody. I think a lot of people may be better as individual agents as opposed to trying to build teams. I think that's another key facet of it. Is that working?
So it sounds like So it sounds to me like you, as a team leader, one of your big struggles is building the team. Now
Yes.
so you have a few built-in team members, like
Yep.
that you never have to question their loyalty. And why is that?
Well, because they are my parents. So so that's nice. But I don't know that it's so much loyalty as much as it's look, real estate is not easy. It's not easy for anybody, whether you're an individual or even if you're on a team. It's a damn tough business to be in. Because there's so many moving pieces, you're trying to manage all of these different things, and until you get to a certain level and you realize how you do manage those things, you're like, what the hell am I doing? So I think it's a challenge for anybody to come in. And then if I've figured it out, I think for myself, I haven't necessarily figured it out, from the team building thing. Like, what we have is working. I'd love to be bigger. But we're still, kind of figuring out how to get to that next level. And again, it's sort of like, I think bringing in people that are perhaps maybe more established in the business that can kind of manage transactions on their own is critically important in terms of, team building. And then obviously finding personalities that match too. And they don't have to be the same, just like you need to be able to jib and jive, and kind of work together and kind of, flow together. I think that's sort of the most important thing.
So that's actually a really common thing. The whole building a team, bringing the right people in. And the thing about teams is everybody does it differently.
Right.
Like, there's no model. You try to find a formula for doing it and what you think is the right thing. I'll bring these newbies and I'll do that, and this will be great, and I'll train them up, and they'll have no bad habits, and they'll take all of my wisdom. Like, yeah, but you didn't think about their personality type, or you didn't think about what their ambition is, or their experience level, or their work ethic and things like that. You're like, oh, there's more to this.
Right.
And what I love is that you haven't given up. You're not like, well, looks like I'm no good at this.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, it looks like I'm better at this now that I've made some mistakes.
Right. Yeah. And again, I think you kind of, I'm still, like I said, I'm still in the process of figuring out team building and what's the best way for, what my vision is to kind of grow the team. And, you look to the other folks for advice and input and stuff like that. But it's a challenge, and you kind of try to take those experiences, learn from it, and then kind of modify it so that the next time it doesn't, affect your overall business and stuff like that. So it's a challenge, it's not easy for anybody.
No, it's not. And so, which this sort of brings me back around to why I even just, invited you to come on here in the first place. I'm sitting here trying to drive you into the ground and come up with all of these crappy things that happen in your life. And you're like, not that crappy, not that bad. No, I'm over it. Yeah. And I think that's part of that, I think, is just who you are. That's just like, I imagine that you probably have a gene that just keeps you generally positive. I don't know. That might not be true. It could be a big act that you put on for everybody, but I'm buying it.
Yeah. Oh, good. It's working.
But I also think that other people can take something. They don't have to have like a happy gene to be able to work your way through challenges. You don't have to be innately anything except sort of metacognizant. Like, you have to be aware of what is happening, how you're feeling about it. And if it's really driving you down, and it's like something that's really gets you stumped or frustrated or disappointed, that's a signal that you got to turn it into something. Like, this is something that, Jason Mraz, win some or learn some, I don't that song.
Yeah, I'm trying. Forgive me.
Just throw me a bone, Evan.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's bobbing my head. Yeah, that sounds great.
I'll see if I can get the song in as the audio, as the background music to this song. But my point is, you win some, you learn some.
Right.
And if these struggles and failures, you should not be afraid of them. Like, this is, I would never peg you as scared. I would never peg you as intimidated or, fearful of what might be around the corner. That's just, I think, a superpower of yours.
I think and I still have a long way to go myself, but I think the most successful people in life aren't afraid to take risks. And it's really being able to sort of mitigate those risks so that, the repercussions, if you're wrong, are not devastating, and it's to kind of, and again, that comes with experience. It comes from knowledge that you've built off of past deals, past relationships, and all those things kind of come into play because we're in the people business, so right. You just kind of, you take those experiences, but don't be afraid to take risk. If you're afraid to grow, then you're never going to grow, so you're just going to kind of maintain. And now I think that there is sort of an ebb and flow to all of this too. I think that, there are times when, it's the right time to grow. And then I think there are times when it might be better to just kind of maintain and then kind of, seize when the opportunity is correct.
Yeah. Sometimes it's time to throw the roots down. Sometimes you're throwing some branches out. Yeah.
And I think that, perhaps one of my shortcomings is I was always focused on growth. And that I was, I think what happens when you're doing that is sometimes you go beyond where you should be, and then you have to kind of come back to reality a little bit, and maybe focus on some of the fundamentals of how you built your business from the beginning, and kind of like let's refocus and kind of get our stuff together, and then kind of move on from there, and hopefully not make the same mistakes that you made the previous time. So.
As I listen to you talk about that, Evan, again, it drives these. So if anybody is listening, I want you to listen to how Evan's talking. And what I want you to take away from this and observe, see what I see, which is Evan's not dwelling on his failures. He's not dwelling on his mistakes. He's not dwelling on his misfortune, bad breaks. He's had all of that. And we'll have more. He's talking about what you do next and going forward and knowing when it's time to just sort of pause for a moment. He doesn't, wallowing isn't in your vocabulary.
Nope.
I don't see you. And this is why I think you are my people, because that to me is like a victim mentality that puts you in an out of control. Like that means you're not in charge. If you're like, oh, look what the world has done to me, then you're not in the driver's seat anymore. Like, yeah, I effed up. Well, here we go. I got a mess to clean up. I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to move on. And I will take a note from that and try not to make that same mess again. And then you just sort of derp along. And
it's not that easy. I mean, I'm just being totally honest. You will deal with stuff, but it's like deal with it for 24 to 48 hours and then move on. So I think that it's unrealistic for people to expect themselves to be perfect. You can try, but nobody's perfect. So you just, you focus on that, focus on the bad, take from it what you can, and then, 24 to 48 hours, move on, all right, that's it. We can put that away. It's time to move past it. So
that's a really good point, because I think people could have, if you hadn't made that distinction, people could have taken away that Evan just sort of goes, la, la, la. No, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. No, but
we're all the same,
Privately, you have to take that moment. And what I call that is sort of an autopsy of your failure. Like, all right, let's open this bad Larry up. What did we do? Oh, there it is. Cause of death, impatience, or boldness, or whatever it is,
Sure.
And you go, all right, noted. Let's go. But you do have to take that. You don't have to be public about it, or whatever your mojo is. But you do have to take that time to feel the feels.
Yep.
Because if you don't feel the feels are going to be felt. They're coming for you. So sometimes you just got to sit in that discomfort, sit in the mess that you made.
Yep.
For 24 hours, feel the feels, work it out, take the brilliance, and then move forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes it stinks, when you open that up, it stinks. But at the same time, that aroma, there's a lot to learn, and so that's all I'm saying is that, I'm no different than anybody else. If you have to look inside yourself and say, Jesus, like I really should have done something different, or I wish I had done that better, know that, move on, and then, hopefully you're off and running.
Biggest thing you just said is you're no different from anybody else. We are all the same fundamentally. And these are just these little pieces of wisdom and lessons that I hope people can take from this. So I just sort of want to recap a little bit.
Yep.
So if you guys are, just catching the last half of this here, we're talking with Evan Walsh, who is an absolute superstar, rock star, consistent, very high performer. What's your dog's name?
That's Olivia.
Olivia. Consistent high performer, like a huge success by any external measure. And I brought him in because he's had struggles. He's had all the same struggles that you and I have had, building a business and doing things, making mistakes, cleaning up messes, self-doubt, all that stuff. Oh, plus he also had cancer and lived to tell the tale, literally. And like when that was not necessarily clear. So I'm hoping that people who are listening can hear Evan's story, hear his attitude, and hear his tactics, and take something from that, so that when life punches you in the face, which it will, you can treat it the same way Evan does. Yeah, you fall down for a minute, your nose bleeds for a while, it hurts. Then you got to figure out, where did that punch come from, and then try to get punched again.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so if you
stronger.
can kind of see the punch coming, and it's a glancing blow, it's going to do a lot less damage, right? You're not just going to stand there and take it because, you're tough. You just be smart. That's all,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we're almost ready to wrap up, Evan. Is there anything else you want people to know? Anything else you want to leave them with before we wrap up?
Geez, I think, the most important thing is to try and have fun. If you don't love what you do, then what are you doing? And I know that all the people, the motivational people, say the same thing, but the truth is, if you can't have fun at what you're doing, you're not doing the right thing. So you either need to do something else or figure out a way to have fun doing what you're doing. I went to, I think you were there, actually. I think this is sort of what kind of like got us kind of working together, like over the last, 18 to 24 months. But we went to that Tom Ferry thing down in Connecticut. And that was like a hugely, hugely motivational moment for me. I was at a time, not gonna lie, I was like a little depressed. I had kind of, come back from cancer. Awesome. That's great. Business wasn't really kind of taking off the way I had hoped it would. And, I was feeling a little depressed. And, when we went to that Tom Ferry event in Connecticut, and just sort of like, just a couple of tidbits that I took from that, which was like Instagram story, how to use that to your advantage, kind of trying to document sort of things every day. That put a bug in me, and it sort of became infectious. And like, I was like, shit, this isn't really as hard as I thought it was going to be. And it started to build, and it started to kind of, that snowball started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And now I'm kind of rolling downhill a little bit, and it feels good, So it's like, find something that you love in this business and just do it. I guess it's like everything. Do it well. Do it as good as you can do it. Look at you. Look at you.
Look at me in my sweatshirt.
But you know what it is? And this is the thing I admire about you, is you're always looking for fun and creative ways to grow your brand, grow your business, just like what we're doing today. And, there is a vibe about you that's infectious. And, if everybody can capture, not everyone, right? But if they can find their own vibe and just roll with it, and not be afraid of what other people think, and just go with it. Like, that's the best advice I can give anybody, just go with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you started that by saying, if you're doing real estate and you don't love it, either do a different thing or do the thing you're doing differently. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you do love it, and start with being 100% you, because that's all you got.
Yeah,
really.
100%.
I tried to be Evan, and I just could not make the facial hair come in. I
Please
tried.
Please
I did try. Oh my gosh. This is awesome. I am so glad we did this.
Me too.
So if people want to connect with you and maybe bend your ear a little bit, find out a little bit more about you, where should they look to learn more about Evan Walsh?
I would say, you can anybody can contact me pretty much anytime. I love to help people out. If you have situations in real estate or life, cancer, whatever, I love to help people if I can, and, just kind of provide whatever insight I can. If I can, affect one person positively, like, that's all I can hope for. So
Well,
you
you've
can
done
find
that.
me.
Where should they go?
So Instagram is a great place to follow me. Facebook, if you're friends with Katie, then you're friends with me. So
Absolutely. Yes.
feel
Yes.
free
Full
to
endorsement.
reach out. But yeah, I would say, those are probably the best places: Instagram, Facebook. That's where you'll
Instagram,
find me.
Facebook. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Good. And he's a pretty easy Google. Evan Walsh, Walsh Team, Ravis, Boston.
Yep.
He's easy to find because he's also a very good marketer. But we'll talk about that another time.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks so much, Evan.
Katie, I love you.
Love you too.
We'll talk to you later.
And cut. All right.
Perfect.
So that was great. That was
Awesome.
awesome. So good. That's going to be perfect. I will crop it and all. I mean, it's still recording right now, but I will trim it. I don't think I'll edit anything out. I think it's
Fine.
organic and good, and I think it flowed just fine. And so you can do what you want with it. I am going to I will pull the audio and put it into the podcast, but I'm probably not. I mean, we've got the Zoom, we've got the video. I think I'll probably post it too. This is scheduled to go out on, I believe, this Wednesday.
Cool.
So if you just if you could do like any behind the scenes stuff you want, no, I don't give a shit what you do before. It's not like I've got millions of followers.
No, that's fine. Just let me know when it's coming out, and I'll help to promote it. Just whatever the link is, just share with me so I can help promote you.
I so appreciate that. If you want to do any behind the scenes stuff before that, like I'm going to send you this takes a little while to fully upload, and then I'm going to send you the link, and you can download it and do whatever you want with it.
Awesome.
But like, people love the behind the scenes stuff. They're so into it. Yeah.
So, now, what do you mean the behind the scenes? What do you mean?
So if you post like today, like, I had so much fun interviewing with Katie for her Happiest Person in Real Estate podcast.
Yeah.
Like if you stops and starts, dogs were involved or whatever you want to say.
Got it.
Oh, he's real. Wow. And then also they might be like, what's that happiest person? Kind of thing. So
right.
Anyway.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you in person sometime
I know.
soon, right?
Hopefully. The sooner the better.
All right, buddy.